So today we're going to be talking about a particularly difficult case we had here at Spar and Bernstein. It turned out very successful for our client after years and years of hardship trying to get through with a green card. I have with me today Nicole Hemrick. She's one of our incredible immigration attorneys, and she's a fabulous attorney. And she was the one who worked on his case. We're going to call him a different name. He doesn't want to be known by his real name, so we're going to be calling him Winston, although Winston is not his real name. But for this purpose, his name is Winston. So Nicole, tell us about Winston's case. Tell us about the facts and why it was particularly a difficult situation for Winston and his whole immigration situation.
Okay, yes. So Winston has been here for many years, almost 30 years. When he came, he did come on a visa, but then he encountered several problems that set him back substantially. First, in order to try to legalize his status, he went to somebody who he had been recommended to, who supposedly helped other people. The person promised to help him to normalize his status, and it turned out that he actually filed a fake asylum claim for him.
Right, so this was probably back in the 90s when I started out as an attorney. Political asylum, it was taking 7, 8, 9 years to get a work permit. And there was a lot of attorneys, a lot of notarios, people who said they were paralegals, and even licensed attorneys who were telling immigrants, I'll get you a work permit. They didn't know any better. And then they would file a political asylum claim. They didn't even know what they filed, but they did know they got a work permit. And they got it for 7 years or 8 years before anybody even looked at their case. And then eventually when they would see that there was some sort of fraudulent asylum claim, and it would end up giving them big problems. Some people would even get deported from it. There's attorneys from the 90s who went to jail for doing this. Not me, obviously, or not Nicole, but we are aware of those situations. And people like Winston, you know, or many people came here, they're like, I'm just happy I got a work permit. They don't really ask a lot of questions about why or how I'm entitled to a work permit, or maybe they do, and people were lying. There was a lot of people lying about filing asylum claims and saying, yes, I'll get you the work permit, even though, and they thought that they were filing for amnesty and all sorts of things.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened with Winston. It turns out this person was not an attorney, presented Winston as being from a different country than he actually is, and so having an entirely different identity, and therefore claim that had nothing to do with who he actually was or anything in his facts.
Now Winston was from Jamaica, but this asylum claim, he didn't even realize. I know people who signed, I'm not saying Winston did this, I don't know, we're going to find out about Winston's case, but I know people who signed blank forms, and then a paralegal or an unscrupulous attorney or somebody who claims they're an attorney when they're not, would fill in stuff that's just absolutely not even true.
Right. So Winston did not know what he was signing, and when he learned years later, when he came to us and we did a FOIA request, he was actually shocked, very upset about what had happened, and we had to figure out how to remedy the situation. And beyond that, Winston got into some trouble because one of his friends asked if he could do him a favor, and this was years after the asylum situation, and just cash his girlfriend's check for him. And it turned out that the check was fraudulent.
Not a good check.
Not a good check.
Right.
He wound up being charged and convicted for it. He tried to wear a wire and help the police catch this other person, but he believes the person was tipped off when it came down to that. So he wound up taking the fall. He actually pleaded guilty. And from that time, he has been a law-abiding person, definitely showed rehabilitation and contrition.
So Winston came, and like I'm going to tell you, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of immigrants in the 90s filed a political asylum claim that was not a legitimate claim. He may or may not have known what he was doing, but certainly he didn't realize the ramifications of all of this. He just assumed he's getting a work permit. and then years later was a pawn in what ultimately was a much bigger scheme, and unfortunately he got the rap for it. Now, he was living in the United States for 27 years when he finally met Nicole. Is that correct?
Right.
And what did you do for him?
So he has a U.S. citizen wife. He has 3 U.S. citizen children. His eldest child is actually autistic. His wife has significant health problems, diabetes, psychological problems for which she's consistently attending a psychotherapist and taking medication. And we filed 2 waivers.
And just so you know, for everybody out there, the armchair attorneys out there, okay, you file fake political asylum claims, and you have, what amounts to, as far as immigration is concerned, although Winston was a pawn, a very serious criminal offense. Cashing a $33,000 check is an aggravated felony. And this is what he comes to Nicole with. I'm here 27 years. I have a fraud, and I've got an aggravated felony. And then you needed waivers.
Then we needed waivers. We submitted 2 waivers, and we ultimately attended the interview together, and the officer had a lot of questions about the hardship. And he actually asked me about this issue with the conviction. And while it looked like an aggravated felony, and it was a felony in the criminal context, I explained that because he was not sentenced to a year, it should not be counted as a felony. And they, agreed with me.
They agreed with your argument.
And he now is a green card holder.
That's wonderful. And by the way, we have Winston by phone here. So this is a true story. Is that correct, Winston?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
And welcome to Bradshaw Live. And we have Nicole, who is your fantastic attorney who took you through this entire process. I got a question for you, Winston.
Yes.
When you met Nicole, did you ever think you were going to get a green card?
I had doubts. Believe me, because of my situation, and just like she explained it perfectly, I really had doubts. If I was going to get through, because of all the chaos that went on around the case. But it's a proven fact. I got my green card.
And now you were here for 27 years. You obviously ran into some trouble along the way. Tell me how getting a green card has changed your life. What was life like before the green card, and what's life like now with a green card?
Well, I feel like I get my life back now. I can do anything. I can go anywhere I want to go without having to be looking over my shoulder and wondering if this is going to happen, or I could walk into any place right now, and apply for a job without thinking, are they going to ask for this? Do I have a social security card? Do I, you know what I mean? So, life is great now, man. Believe me, it is. It is.
And now you were here for 27 years. And you rightfully or wrongly, you had a fraud on an asylum case that was filed. Obviously, you have excuses on why that happened, and there was this criminal situation, and there was actually extenuating circumstances about what that happened. But the facts are, you were guilty of both. Both could have either one could have got you back in your home country, deported, never to be with your family again. How was living in the United States with that uncertainty?
Listen, it like every day this thing goes through my mind. When the uncertainty. When I didn't have a green card. Every day I get up, and I wonder, what if this happened? What if that happened? What if I ever had gotten deported? My family could not survive. They just could not, because my wife is very sickly,
right?
And as you know, I have an autistic son,
right?
And believe me, they could not have done it alone.
And that's why your waiver was approved, because you were able to present this evidence to your very good attorney Nicole, who was then able to present this evidence to the immigration, and they agreed with everything you just said. Your wife and family can't live without you, which is why you got your waivers. So what do you have to say to Nicole? What do you have to say to people out there? Would you recommend Nicole?
Oh, 10 times over. I just have to point out one thing to dear Brad.
Yeah.
I'll never forget this. You know.
Okay.
While we were, just like Nicole said, you know, she went with me for the interview, and while we were in the doing the interview, the officer, he asked a legal question.
Right.
You know, yeah. Why is it when Nicole told him that I didn't get
An aggravated felon.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he referred to an article, you know, something pertaining to the law.
Right.
Nicole just spit it out right there and told him, and he had to refer to a book.
Right.
To find
Right.
to find it, you know. So he said to me, "Oh, you have a good lawyer there.
Yeah.
I can't get around this one."
Well, it's true.
That was the exact word.
And it's true.
It is true.
It's
true.
And it is true. But also, you know, it's a very good point that you make. The immigration officers are not attorneys. Okay, so
Okay.
they didn't. Most of them, maybe some did go to law school, but it's not a requirement to go to law school to be an immigration officer and interview you.
Oh, okay.
They are not attorneys. Okay, they do not know the law as well as a good attorney. Okay, and that's why you see a lot of times immigration making mistakes, and that's why you have good attorneys to point it out to them why they would be making a mistake, and they would have in your particular case. Winston, we are so happy that we were able to make your dreams come true, your family's dreams come true. This is what we call the American dream. Let me ask you a question, because we ask this of everybody. What is your American dream, and are you living it now?
Well, my American dream just came true by having my green card. Because can you imagine living in a country, not having that for over 27 years? You don't know what is going to happen the next day, you know. So believe me, having that card makes me feel like a free man, like I get my life back, you know.
Well, it's amazing. Amazing.
So having that card, man, let me feel so good.
It's amazing. Winston, congratulations to you and your
Thank
family.
you guys very,
all right,
very
make
much.
us very proud of you, Winston. Stop by when you're in Manhattan. And Nicole, fabulous job, great job. And she does a great job not only for Winston but for all of her clients. Excellent.
Yes.
And Winston, thank you for coming on, and Nicole, thank you for sharing as well.
Thank you so much, and congratulations,
Thank you very
Winston.
much, Nicole.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
And I do have to remind everybody that obviously prior successful results do not guarantee a similar outcome. But Nicole, fabulous job. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Winston.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care now.
Bye.
All right.
Okey-doke.